Hello and welcome to VIBookcrate's video for May 2018's box, Destiny. So this is a great theme, it's a great box, and it's our first box. So this is the parent video or the guardian video. It is going to kind of give you a walkthrough of what to expect in the box, as well as a little bit about the book. Okay, so the first thing that you will see when you open this box will be the spoiler card. So on the back is all of the information about what's in the box and why it's in the box, but also, more importantly for parents and guardians, this. It'll say parents on there. This is for you. There's some really cool information inside. This month, I have just a little letter to you, just saying thank you and talking about next month's theme. I also have a did you know, then also a talk about it with your kids. When you talk about the books that your kids are reading with your kids, it really increases their comprehension, it increases their understanding, and it actually increases your understanding of where they're at. And it's just a really, really good bonding experience. So on this card, I just have some suggestions of things that you could ask them just to engage yourself and become a part of it. And let's get into what's in the box. So one of the cool things inside the box is this Fool's Gold excavation kit. So inside, your kids are going to be able to dig like miners. One of the characters in this book actually lives in a mining town where they have to mine for gold. So you get one of these plaster blocks, it comes with a little brush and a little chisel. Inside is some iron pyrite, so they'll be able to mine their own gold. So next up on our spoiler card, as well as in the box, you will find some gummy worms. So it's just a little package of treats. The character in our story actually ends up staying with some trolls. And the trolls drink and eat this thing called sludge, dirt and worms and mud. So it's pretty gross, but this is a really nice alternative to sludge for your kids to try. Every single VIBookcrate junior box and our adult boxes is going to include a custom bookmark. So that's to keep their place while they're reading. Very important. So last but not least, one of our local companies here on Vancouver Island agreed to do a custom, amazing bath bomb for you guys, and I'm so excited. It's Island Life Soap. It is a gold shimmery bath bomb, and the scent is actually called Monkey Farts, which is kind of funny, but it's like a coconut banana. Again, it's related to the book because our character, after he spends some time with the trolls, is very, 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 very dirty and has to get cleaned up. So I just thought, what a fun little addition for your kids. So the true story of Rumpelstiltskin. Here it is. The main character in this story is Rump, short for Rumpelstiltskin. When he was born, his mother actually passed away during birth. So she was the one to give him his name. She died actually before she could give him his full name of Rumpelstiltskin. So he is under the impression his name is Rump. It's a very unfinished name. Everyone knows it's unfinished. Where he lives in kind of this world, your name is considered your destiny. He is a kid in this book. It's like an origin story. So he lives in a mountain town, I believe it's just called the Mountain, and his job is to actually mine for gold. So they mine every day for gold, and depending how much gold they find is how much food they get. He lives with his grandmother. So because of his name, a lot of people make fun of him as well. So there are a lot of butt jokes. They call him bottom, butt, you know, all that kind of stuff. He doesn't have a lot of friends. There was one girl that he befriends named Red, who is Red Riding Hood, and she also has a secret kind of in her story. The person who kind of runs their village is very greedy, and he has a daughter. He actually steals a lot of the people's gold, and he steals their food, and he's very unkind. The miller's whole purpose is to kind of lord himself over that community and to marry his daughter off well. He doesn't actually really care about his daughter so much, only what she can do for him. So in Rump's house, there's one thing that was left behind from his mother. So she had a spinning wheel. Granny didn't want him to touch it, but Rump ends up trying it and he finds out he can spin gold. Red also finds out that Rump can spin gold from straw, and she warns him about the cost of magic, which is the biggest theme throughout the story, is that magic does have consequences. Again, even small magic can have big consequences. Rump's granny actually gets sick in the book. Rump actually take the gold that he's been spinning to the miller to get rations of food because he's so worried about his granny. But unfortunately, Rump's granny actually dies in the story quite near the beginning, and that's kind of a catalyst for what kind of happens next. So after that, the king actually comes to their city. They call him King Barf. His name is King Bartholomew. He finds out about the gold, and the miller lies and says that his daughter Opal is the one who actually spun the gold. And he tricks the king into taking Opal and to marry her. So that causes Rump to feel really guilty because he knows that Opal can't spin the gold and something terrible is going to happen to her. He doesn't know what to do. So he goes and finds the Witch of the Woods, who is kind of the one magical person that he can think of who could hopefully help him and figure out who he is, what he is, and why he can do what he can do. He learns about the price of magic, the bargain. So he learns that they can offer him anything for his magic, his gold, and he has to accept it. So Rump decides to start off on a journey. He is off to look for a stilt skin and to save Opal because he feels responsible for the predicament that she's in. So he heads off and is on his way to the castle. So he finds her and offers to spin gold for her. Day after day, he has to continue doing it for her. As he's spinning, one of the last times he says, you know, what will you give me? And she doesn't know, and humming and hawing, and ends up saying, oh, you know, my firstborn child. Sure, I'll give you my firstborn child. Because she's thinking, I'm never going to be having any kids. And just like that, you know, the deal is bound and is struck. He comes across this apple tree and he's really hungry, so he decides to stop, and he gets trapped by trolls. And he is so scared because he thinks they're going to eat him, but they actually don't. They're nice trolls. They just try to make people think that they're going to eat them because long ago people used to capture them and use them to find magic. Almost like a pig to search for truffles, people would capture trolls to sniff for magic. So they can actually smell magic with their noses, and they can smell it all over Rump, so they know he's magical. And they have all sorts of crazy magical possessions in this pit that they have decided to keep safe and away from people because people misuse magic. So the trolls live out in the forest, and they're really smelly and they're really dirty, and Rump ends up getting really smelly and dirty as well. They eat sludge, which is just murky, mucky, dirty water and slimy worms, and other than that, he does enjoy his time a bit there. So he leaves his time with the trolls, and he ends up in Yonder, and he hears about these witches called the Wool Witches. And it turns out they are actually his family, and that's where his mom came from. She was one of the sisters, and they all have kind of magical talents with tapestries, with knitting, with spinning, all kinds of stuff like that. Kind of find out a little bit of backstory behind his mom, how she was tricked and bound by magic, and it's really kind of sad. So he learns a lot about magic while he stays with his family, and a lot about his background, and he actually starts growing, which he didn't really do before. So eventually, Rump gets caught by two people from his old village who come and take him to the miller and back to the castle because they want him to spin some more gold. Rump tries to refuse, but they actually kidnap his friend Red and end up forcing him to do it by tying them up and hurting them. So it turns out Opal does want to keep her baby. She loves him, and she's trying so hard to convince Rump not to take it, but he is bound by magic, and he has been spinning and spinning and spinning and almost like killing himself spinning all this wool, and he decides to say, well, fine, if you can guess my whole name, then you can keep your baby, because he views that as an impossible task. So Rump tricks his captors into taking him to the trolls by saying that he needs to, relieve himself, a little nature's call. And him and the baby and the two guys from his village set off and get captured. Then he kind of actually figures his name out on himself, that he is actually the stilt skin. He is the magic that his mother was looking for. And once he realizes that all of those binding magical consequences and arrangements that he had made are broken. So Rump brings the baby back, says, I won't spin, you can't make me, stands up for himself, and he saves the day. So really, in the end of this story, Rump finds out that he is in more control of his destiny than he thought, that his name doesn't define him, that his actions do have consequences, and it really is a great story. I hope you enjoy it. I hope your kids enjoy it. You should read it too, but I know we don't always get a chance to read books before our kids do, because sometimes they're just crazy little reading machines, which is amazing. I love it. So there you go. Rump, the true story of Rumpelstiltskin.